Hello and welcome to our panel discussion today, how your company can transform education by embracing the global goals. We're so delighted to have you here, and we'll be starting the panel shortly. We're just going to let everybody into the room. Okay, so we're going to be getting started shortly, so a big warm welcome to our panel discussion today. Just so you know, this panel discussion is being recorded for safeguarding purposes. Please do not take photos or screenshots during the live session. We do have young people in our panel, and we will be sharing an approved recording afterwards. I'd like to invite you now to start introducing yourself in the chat. Please do share your first name, your organizational role, and whereabouts in the world you are. If you're in another country, it'd be great to share what time of day it is. If you're so bold, you could also share what you had for breakfast. I will share with you that I had porridge, so I am ready for the day and I've had some coffee. During the session, we would ask that you put any questions that you have for our panel into the Q&A. So the Q&A is at the bottom, not the chat. The chat is there for you to introduce yourselves, and then we will close the chat during the main session, and then we ask that you just put questions into the Q&A. We will be getting started in just about a minute. We're just allowing everybody to get into the room. Okay. A big warm welcome if you've just come in. I can see people sort of coming in now. Just to repeat that if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A during the panel. This is being recorded, and we ask that you don't take any pictures of the session. We will be sharing an approved recording which you can share. If you'd like to introduce yourself, please do so in the chat now. You can put your first name, your organization and role, and whereabouts in the world you are. We have a fantastic panel sharing with you today, who are joining us from around the world, which is really fantastic and shows you the power of technology to connect us. I think it's now time to get started. So a very warm welcome to today's panel, which is part of the LearningPlanet Festival. I'm John Harper, Chief Executive of Future Foundations and co-founder of Global Social Leaders. Today's panel is about how companies can transform education by embracing the global goals. And we have an absolutely fantastic panel here who are going to be giving you insights into how they've volunteered with their organizations. They've seen how organizations can make change by finding their purpose. And we have some amazing young people from around the world who'll be sharing the projects that they are doing in their schools and in their communities. What we will be covering is a little bit about their roles and what they're doing, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions. Please do put your questions into the Q&A, and if you'd like to introduce yourself, we welcome you to do that in the chat. But once we get started, we will be closing the chat so that we can focus on any questions going into the Q&A. So what is this all about? Why is this event happening? Today's event is part of the LearningPlanet Festival, and this is organised around International Education Day. That day was yesterday, a very special day, and we also did a webinar like this for educators yesterday, which was really fantastic. It's organised in partnership with UNESCO and hundreds of pioneering organisations, such as, hopefully, ourselves. There are hundreds of events happening, and really what they're trying to do is mobilise forces that are committing to adapting our learning and working together to accelerate transition to the 21st century. It does feel there's this sort of tipping point now where we've come out of the pandemic, and people talking about how do we get to a pre-pandemic normal, but a lot of people saying, was that pre-pandemic normal good enough? How do we use the opportunities of what we've learned over the last few years to accelerate and make a more exciting and transformational education that works for all? And that's what we're going to be exploring a little bit today. I also invite you to check out the full festival program, because there are events running all week, and so you can go and experience some of those other fantastic sessions. But here today, we're going to be sharing with you how we are using our program, Global Social Leaders, to help educators, to help schools, and help young people to transform their education and prepare them for an uncertain future. So far, we've supported over 10,000 young people in 100 countries to develop their own ideas, their own projects to solve issues and problems that they care about. And you're going to hear from 3 young people today who are running some really inspiring projects in their countries. What we're trying to do is build a community of schools and partners, because we don't think the burden of creating a brighter future should just be put onto young people. And that's why we're doing this webinar today, is to engage with companies and organizations and employees, because we need you to help us, to help young people develop the skills so that they can make a difference and so that they are equipped and supported to be leaders in their lives and society. The global goals act as an incredible framework, and we found it really empowering for our young people, for our schools, and for the companies we work with. World leaders committed to these goals back in 2015. We are now halfway there to 2030. Progress has been made. The pandemic has not helped, and we've got a long way to go to achieving them. But it is a framework that can really help us catalyze change and solve some of the problems that feel overwhelming. They give us a framework to break it down and think about what we can do. Every business, every individual can take action on the goals, and we will share how some people are doing that, our young people are doing that in their schools. But we just don't want to talk about it, we want you to hear from those that are doing it. And that's why we have 2 fantastic GSL heroes who have volunteered with us, but also in their roles are doing amazing work in sustainability and helping organizations find their purpose. They will be setting the scene from the employer's perspective. We then have 3 young people who will be setting the scene from the young people's perspective. And these are young people who are running projects, finding the time alongside their school to do that. I'll be chairing today, and I'd like to say a big thank you to Steph in our team, who will be supporting on the operations, and Noor, who's supporting as well from World's Largest Lesson. I would now like to hand over to Jo, who will be introducing herself. The panel will introduce themselves. I will then ask some questions, and then I'll be inviting you in the audience to submit your questions in the Q&A. Over to Jo.
Thanks, John, and thanks for having me here today. So I'm just going to give a little bit about me, my background, and then talk a little bit about the kind of role that employees can play around the global goals. So I recently joined Pilgrim's Food Masters as head of sustainability. And for those that are not aware of what Pilgrim's Food Masters are, so we're the UK's largest producer of meats and chilled and frozen ready meals, working with every major supermarket in the UK and Ireland. But I've worked in the sustainability field for over 15 years. Previous roles include head of community investment at Sainsbury's, a large UK retailer, and director of community investment and human rights at Intercontinental Hotels Group, a large hotel chain. And I was previously a programme director at a UK youth-wide youth movement called Enactus UK, which is how I got the opportunity to meet Jonathan Harper. So I believe there's a really unique role for businesses to play in how that their community and sustainability programs can contribute to the global goals, and how colleagues within these businesses can be a real driving force in this. So I've had the very lucky opportunity to develop a range of industry-leading volunteering programs for some major organisations, and I have the honour of seeing firsthand the wonderful impact that volunteering has for both the organisation or the cause benefiting from the volunteering, as well as the individual who is the volunteer. So I actively mentor and volunteer in my own time. So I do a lot of work supporting young people to develop social and environmental outreach projects, and supporting these young people to become our future leaders. And as John mentioned, I've obviously also been a dragon through the Global Social Leaders Programme with Future Foundation. So, you know, I really do take this seriously in my own time as well as through my job. I think it's really important to give back. And these opportunities have helped me stretch my own development as well. And I learn new things from these incredible young people every time I get the opportunity to work with them. And it's something I'm able to then take back into my day job as well. And I feel we're at such a critical point in terms of some of the climate and biodiversity crises that are impacting us, and our future leaders will be key to this transformation. And I think businesses can be a great partner to help to support future leaders actively out there taking on this challenge, as well as trying to provide that support needed to shape the future of education as we adapt to these new challenges impacting us. So I look forward to sharing a few more examples and a bit more about my background as we go through the rest of the panel discussion today.
Thank you so much, Jo, and thank you so much for being here today. I'm now going to invite Martina and Nicholas, who have created Project Enlighten, to introduce themselves and say a little bit about their project. And I'd like to say a special thanks to them because it's quite early in the morning and they've got up before school to be here. So I think that just shows you how committed they are to making a difference and to sharing what they're doing. So Martina, do you want to go first?
Yes, thank you, Jonathan. So we're Martina and Nicolas. We come from Colombia. We co-founded a year ago Enlighten Initiative. Enlighten Initiative consists of an organization that takes into account education and energy. So what we do is we take energy to low-income communities in Colombia that have not access to energy. We install them solar panels in schools. And then after we install the solar panels, we do follow on them and their education by using Zoom and by using internet and all the tools that come with energy. We started this initiative a year ago after a trip to one of the most remote regions in Colombia, where we saw the impact of education, where we saw how a simple schoolroom could actually change and open opportunities for young people. We saw that just finishing high school was a great deal, as it opened pre-professional tracks. And then after seeing that, and after seeing the development that came with solar panels in other communities, we started a cultural exchange with communities that had installed solar panels before. We started teaching them English, as it's a region that it's known for tourism. So they were able to learn English to see their crafts for the tourists, and they in return teach us how to make their crafts. After seeing that impact, we started to fundraise to actually install our own solar solution in Colombia. We were able to fundraise with a lot of companies and with family and friends. We did various strategies of fundraising. And after doing various intents, we were able to partner with one of Colombia's biggest gas and oil company, which impacted us to install 5 solar solutions in Colombia. We're now in the process of putting those solar solutions into action, and we're starting to getting to know the communities. So after seeing the impact, we can see that energy and education have made a huge impact in Colombia. We can see that not only it affects the kids, but also the development of the communities, as the school has also been able to, the mothers go into the communities to use the light at nighttime. They build their crafts, they also use the internet to learn new things. So we have seen that thing, and now we're starting to fundraise for other solutions, but we have also partnered with another organization that has helped us install internet for the ones that already had solar panels for 1 year. And as it's in a low-income region and it's in a desert, we also are giving one trip of water, as there's no access to water. So we're growing Enlighten in another way. So I think Nicolas can tell you a little bit more of how he has seen the impact of Enlighten.
Yes, so good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here and for having us here. It's a great pleasure. So yes, Martina just gave you the backstory of Enlighten and this initiative that started over a year ago and has already grown substantially from the initial idea that it was. I'm a grade year lower than Martina, so I joined in this year. I joined after a school trip and various trips around rural areas of Colombia, where I realized that there's a huge need for technology, for education, and for simply what we consider moving forward. We believe that Enlighten, led by young students, is an initiative that's keen to look towards the future and develop both ourselves, our communities, and also the rural communities that haven't received a lot of resources throughout their lifetime. So our aspirations are really big. We want to, as Martina said, We also want to help out with the water distribution, since the geographical location and their access to it doesn't actually like help them out a lot with that problem. And we also want to expand our educational network to provide the best education that we can to those people, and for them to sort of understand the power of technology and fully apprehend the importance of this type of development. So thank you all for having us here. And yeah.
Thank you very much, Nicholas and Martina. And I think the audience will be hearing some of the numbers and what they've been doing, and probably are blown away. I'm now going to invite Dave to introduce himself.
Thanks, Jonathan, and really good to be here with you. And I mean, Nicholas, Martina, thank you for that introduction. Even though I've been a been a GSL hero, as it's perhaps generously called, you guys are the real heroes. And what you've done in Colombia, I mean, I've just had a look through your website as well, and what you just shared, it is remarkable. And I've never ceased to be amazed by, the passion and the ingenuity of the young people that are coming up with these ideas and launching these projects when we get a chance to review them. So well done to you guys, the real heroes. A little bit about me and my role and what I do. So I've had the privilege of living and working in a few different countries, and kind of started my career in the not-for-profit sector for international development charities. So that was kind of very much my focus. And now I run a creative consultancy that works with companies to help them uncover their purpose and then put it to work for their brand and their culture. So in one sense, I've sort of taken a lot of those experiences I've had working or either in or for overseas charities, and bringing some of that into the business world and the corporate world. And it's a great privilege helping organizations to uncover something deeper that's going on besides just being there to make a profit and create some products or services. John, do you want to slide on to my? I have slides, but they're going to be short. Don't worry. I will be brief, but I'm always conscious that when we talk about purpose and business, it's easy that it can easily feel quite fluffy or abstract. And actually what's often going on in organizations, and probably for some of you that are here today, this will resonate within your company, there's probably 4 things going on that kind of are the purpose mix, if you like, and I think are quite important to kind of where global goals kind of fits in as well into that mix. John, if you want to go to the next slide. So I think when we talk about purpose and business, I think we're usually talking about these 4 things. Yes, there's a core purpose there, a why. This is our company's reason for being. We exist too, whatever that thing is. But that itself may not be overtly impacting people and planet. But actually, what some other things are in play there is there's some shared beliefs. There's something that around what the organization stands for and stands against, which is kind of informing everything, whether it's values or whether it's a purpose and the way the company behaves. Then there's also a commitment to responsible business, do no harm, which I would like to think is now becoming a baseline for any company that really is wanting to operate and sustain operations in the future, a commitment to doing business the right way, doing no harm. And then finally, that social impact piece, which is do some good. And I think that's where what I love about what Future Foundations have done with GSL is it's a very meaningful and practical way that in companies, employees can get behind something that is doing some good and having some real social impact. Because I think our experience is that it's not a lack of need, obviously, both in our own communities here in the UK and around the world, and it's not a lack of desire from leaders and their employees, but it's a lack of meaningful opportunities. And that's why I love, that's why I love what you guys are doing with GSL, and we get behind other initiatives too that give practical, meaningful opportunities for companies and employees to really engage in change and an impact. And then my last slide, John, I think this is really important because ultimately purpose and impact and making a difference is a personal thing, and it starts at home. These are some pictures of me. I've had the privilege, like I say, of living, working, volunteering in different countries and places. That's my son over there on the right hand side, packing boxes a few years ago that were going to Syria. I just think it's really important for businesses to tap into something that is intrinsically deeply human before we get wrapped up in sustainability strategies and grand purpose statements and all those things. It's really an opportunity to tap into a deep human need and desire to positively impact people's lives and recognize that we all have something to give. Practically, we have something to give. We have something to give with our time, with our passions, yes, with our, with our income as well. And I just think there's so much untapped opportunity for making those connections, which I hope more companies will be able to do, and also through GSL and other initiatives. So yeah, great to be here as part of the discussion.
Thank you very much, Dave. It's so great to have you here. I'm now going to invite Arav, who's joining us to speak about Project Grana, and he's joining us from India. So a big warm welcome and thank you, Arav, for joining us. Would you just like to
thank you for that introduction and thank you for having me here. So I'm Arav and I'm one of the team members at Project Grana. Essentially recognizing the homelessness that plagues our country, my team and I decided to come together to devise a solution that we could enact at a local level. What we try to do is bring together affordability and sustainability in building homes for homeless populations. Essentially, after a bit of brainstorming ourselves, we ran a crowdfunding campaign to raise funds and build our first home. We recognize the potential of using end-of-life shipping containers, basically those that have already gone through their time at sea and have been discarded and aren't being used anymore. We decided to take those shipping containers and use them to house homeless families. So after raising the funds and ordering the container at our school, what we did is we spent a few months along with carpenters, electricians, plumbers, and other other workers at our school to build this first home. So we built a home for a family of 4 that's completely run on a 1.5 kilowatt solar setup. The home has a vertical garden to allow the family to grow their own food. And it's built using a lot of other recycled materials to ensure the theme of sustainability. Having built our first home and donated it successfully to a family, we were able to secure funding from a local bank for $200,000 to expand our project and basically replicate this model in our local community. So the rest of my team wasn't able to be here today, but I'm here to share our experience with GSL and with bringing our project to life.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I just thought I'd share a photo of one of those shipping containers. So I think the photo just brings it to life. And you can almost get that sense of where, education, passion for making this happen, and then engaging with a bank who's then supported this. So they got, Arav and his team have shown they could do it, did it once, and then got other people behind them, proved they could do it, and then that has led to massive change, and I think is inspiring for everybody to be able to see the power of education and business coming together to solve real world problems and challenges. I'm now going to be turning to the Q&A. So I'm going to be asking and inviting the audience to submit any questions that you've got for our GSL heroes or for our young people. Please put them, or even for both, into the Q&A box. I'm going to ask them some questions because I've got some for them, and then I'll be turning to the audience's questions. So my first question, and I'm going to put this to our young panelists, is what support have you had from your school or community or from business that has enabled you to take this action that you've taken on the global goals? And I'll invite someone to wave at me who wants to go first. It's always nice to have a wave. Who would like to wave at me and jump in there with that one? Okay, Martina, you're up first, so you can share.
Okay, so Enlighten has had a huge support from our school, and I think without the support of our school, we wouldn't have been able to grow Enlighten. Our school gave us support, not from the first day, but as we grew our project, they started to give us support by giving us the mentorship we needed to grow and structure the project. we also started to use the school as a pilot for the company that helped us with the solar panels. We installed the solar panels first in our school, and then we took them to the other communities around Colombia. So we were able to see if the panels worked, if they were actually going to be a solution that would help the communities. I think our school also gave us the opportunity for funding, and it gave us a space where we developed a whole green day and a whole way of helping young kids understand sustainability, understand the sustainable development goals. And what we did is that if they wanted, they could give a donation. We were able to get funds from that event. And we also got the network opportunities of our school. So we were able to connect with other parents. We were able to connect with all the network that had the school, so we could grow Enlighten and we could jump to Enlighten. I think that our school was also great partner, and because they were able to find us. Well, they were actually the ones who said you should join Global Social Leaders, and then after joining Global Social Leaders, they helped us find other funds such as Global Youth Mobilization, and actually they're always trying to seek new opportunities to see where Enlighten can get, and they also gave us the tools, well, to actually prepare and to get to do a pitch, to do the corporate business, and to raise funds, to see how we can promote with legal with the government. So all of that, things that as young people many times we are not aware what it takes to do a project. They helped us like structure us and guide us through that new world.
Fantastic, thank you. Nicholas, did you want to build on that?
Well, I think it's pretty evident with Enlighten's history the importance of a school support, particularly since we're young students and we still have a lot to learn. And as Martina said, the tools that they gave us and this way of teaching us into sustainability from a really young age, you could say really inspired us to actually execute this initiative. And if it weren't for the support and from the network that we built throughout the school, and from that network we built on into another network, all that we've accomplished wouldn't have been possible up to this point.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you both of you, because I think there's just some little points in there where you're sharing how you started with your school before you went to the wider community. You did a green day, so you involved your whole school. So actually your project wasn't just about you and your group. You actually, well, how do we engage our whole school? How do we engage the parents of the school? And I think sometimes with these projects, it can be quite sort of, it's all about our project and us, and it's just about us doing it. Opening those doors and those eyes to say it's not about me, it's about the mission, the vision, involving others, creates that framework of support. So thank you, some really great points. Arad, how about you? What support have you had?
I think similar to the team from Colombia, I think the school's support in realizing the project was pivotal. It began with just an idea that we had for one of our projects in school, an in-school project where we had just a concept of making such homes, and it was someone from school who told us, why don't we raise funds to actually try and replicate this concept and bring it alive? So then that's what we did. I think through the entire process, it was very important to have a teacher who we could turn to for guidance on how to execute our project, because like Martina and Nicholas said, we're just students and we have a lot to learn. So it was important to have that, experienced person who we could turn to. And I think most importantly, what our school enabled us to do was to make use of the carpenters, electricians, plumbers, and other works people at our school campus. Since we're a boarding school, we have a lot of these workers who are living on campus. So it was very generous of the school to allow us to use use the help that we could get from all of them to actually build a first home, which we built on our school campus. So in terms of both the land and the manpower, that's something that we relied on from our school to actually build the first home. And finally, the networking opportunities that we were able to have access to through our school were unmatched. The funding that we were able to receive for the larger community that we've begun construction on was only possible due to our school, since the bank that was interested and has contributed is run by a school parent. So having that recognition and marketing rather within our school about, say, our project and the impact that we were able to create helped us reach out to a lot of people in our local community who could then help us carry forward our project.
Fantastic. I mean, I just think we talk about learning outside the classroom, and literally you placed this in the school grounds, so I can imagine everybody knows about it and feels that some sort of part of that in that wider community around the school, and I think that's really inspiring and interesting. I'm now just going to turn to Joe and to Dave, to our Global Goals heroes. And I'd just like to understand from you both, like, what impact has volunteering as a Global Goals hero had on you sort of personally? And so, yeah, who would like to wave and start first? Right, Joe, you're up.
Yeah, no, I've had the opportunity to be involved over a few different years in the Global Social Leaders Programme, and I'm really inspired by the young people I've had the opportunity to work with and the projects that they're doing at such a young age. And what I've really found is that the young people I've worked with have a real understanding of topics where some businesses don't understand some of these topics right now. And I know for a fact when I was at school, these topics were not being discussed. So there's this level of awareness and understanding about some of the challenges we're coming into, and these young people facing into them straight away, delivering these amazing projects, and seeing their commitment and passion at such a young age, really gives me the motivation back into my job. So it gives me, what can I then be doing to continue to drive at an industry level some of the actions that we need to take to address some of these challenges that we're seeing now. I want all the young people to grow up to a really healthy, sustainable world, and that's going to take that real collaborative action. Goal 17 is around that partnership. So what are all the different things that we can do to kind of do that? And I'm proud to, of the work that these young people have been doing, and my very small, tiny, and significant part of helping that process along. But I also want them to be really proud of the work that businesses are doing as well to contribute, and build that trust that businesses can be part of that solution as well. And that working with these young people gives me that motivation to keep that drive in my day job. So it's great. I'm constantly learning. I'm using that motivation to take it back into my job, and it's having a really great personal impact, and hopefully having also a big impact into my business as well, by me continuing to challenge and drive and push the agenda forward.
Thank you, Joe. What about you, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, similar really to Joe. I guess on quite a personal level, I would say, being involved in judging, being a judge and being a dragon, I guess what it's done is it's kind of I think it's helped us to reawaken a bit of a personal passion of mine from my early days. It's the sort of thing that I was involved in when I was a young person, not as innovative and clever necessarily, but and in my early career when I was able to do a lot of more hands-on sort of youth work and stuff. So I think for me, yeah, maybe similar to what you're saying, Joe, I find it really energizing to see what the generation that's coming behind me is thinking and feeling, and the ideas that they're coming up with. So being able to kind of see that firsthand is really inspiring, and to be able to feel like in small ways, whether you're giving feedback as a judge or a dragon, to some of those ideas and projects, I feel like I'm doing what I can to help shape them and give them the potential to have the most impact that they can have. So I think there's quite a few things it's done for me personally. I think what's interesting and particularly encouraging is this blend of the kind of raw passion and sort of unbridled belief and optimism that you get with being a young person. But I mean, some of these ideas are, like Joe says, they've got some real sound business logic to them. Like, these are like viable, they've got viable business plans or the start of something. And what you guys have done, you three, in terms of the connections you've made with businesses in your area and the way you've challenged them or brought them or dragged them into those projects, it's just really it's really innovative and it's really powerful. So yeah, it's really inspiring on a number of levels.
Thank you very much. And I think, yeah, I sort of shared that. Sometimes I read the projects and the project plans, and I think to myself, is that possible? Can that happen? Can they do it? And then I have to almost manage my own kind of limiting beliefs of what's possible, and then give some feedback and say it's good because it'd be better if, have you thought of this? What's your plan B if you don't do that? And then being amazed down the line when they submit what they've done and what they've done. And the bit that we've had back quite often is almost by someone else validating their idea, giving them feedback, that's then driven them on to do more and to pivot their ideas and to come up with ways to do it. I'm sort of interested now to kind of just turn back to our panel, our young people, and just ask, is there any more support you would have liked? And I suppose I've got a sort of a question from Vicky in the Q&A, and this is sort of more directed at Arav and just saying what amazing work you've done. But she's curious if you felt equipped with the financial literacy to manage such a large sum of money that you successfully secured, and how have you learned how to budget and use these funds successfully? So I suppose it's a sort of a double question for both, and maybe I'll pass to Arav first to kind of talk a bit about that finances. But is there any more support you would like for your projects that you may not have had? Arav, do you want to start with that first point?
Sure. So I think first, thank you for the wishes, Vicky. As for your question, I think while it is quite a bit of money, what we were able to do with the bank is hire a project manager who's in charge of overseeing the expenses on the ground, ensuring that as school students, obviously, as you said, we aren't equipped with the adequate financial literacy to take care of all that, you know, we've been so generously donated. So I think that having someone who's there to, you know, manage the funds has been an important part of how we've been able to responsibly use it and make sure that it actually goes to good use. And having someone from school as well who's been involved with the entire project, who's helped us, you know, meet with vendors, negotiate with distributors, things like that. It's been important to have those people who are experienced and come with the background to manage funds, who we can rely on to make more calculated decisions. And as for more support, I think we've had more than enough support from both our school and external contact. So I don't think there was any scope for more that could have been done or more that could have asked for through this journey.
Okay, Martin or Nicholas, do you want to just share a little bit about what support you might like to have?
Yeah, so as Arav said, I think the school and our community have also provided us with a lot of support. I do believe that at first, as you already said, like sometimes like people do not believe in young people at the start, and it seems like a crazy idea. But after like seeing execution, and that I think that's what happened with our school, we pitched this Green Day and as a source of like getting funds before we had any funds to the school, and our school said, let's wait. Like they didn't want to put that into the parents yet. So after seeing like that also helped us because it forced us to find other ways of funding and not depend on the school funding. So I think, yes, maybe from the start we would have a little bit of more support, but I think as the project grew, the school was able to see the impact and what we were capable of doing. So from that on, we have had a lot of support from the school and from the community around us.
Nicholas, did you want to add to that?
No, I think Martina said everything that had to be said.
Great, thank you. So just turning back, I think I'm going to turn back to the heroes, and I can see some more questions coming into the Q&A. So if anybody in the audience, please just put any questions you have into the Q&A box. But to Joe and Dave, I mean, you shared like the impact on yourselves. So I'll be interested to go, what do you think the impact is on a company by kind of having their staff involved in initiatives like this? Who would like to go first? I think Joe went first last time, so I'm gonna pick on Dave.
Fine, I will go first. Yeah, I think so. Too often when we go into businesses, there's a disconnect going on between the stated purpose and desired impact of the company, the individual and the role they play, well, between those two things. And I think what's great about initiatives like GSL and actually getting involved in education programs like this is it provides a really practical way to bridge the gap between some of those aspirations that a company has, particularly ones that are quite aspirational in terms of having a global impact or changing the landscape on X and Y, and a feeling of distance that an individual, not just employee, but even a senior leader can feel from that. So I think, I think education in particular and practical projects like GSL that tap into that, into the global goals and into education, are a really excellent way of bridging that gap and giving people a meaningful way of using some of their skills and experience to have an impact in another part of the world and feel like it's something that they're doing collectively as a company and it's part of that sort of shared vision and purpose. And I think too often, I think sometimes there's a bit of a danger. It's not a negative necessarily, but if I'm in a company where there's quite an ambitious vision about the future and next generation or something, and we go and paint a community center wall, which might be fine and lovely, but can still feel quite disconnected. And I think there's a real power in tapping into education and getting business particularly involved in education that kind of bridges that gap and kind of switches the lights on for people.
Great, thank you, Dave. Joe.
Yeah, no, they're all spot on points. And I think if I was almost like take a step back from that, like businesses' contributions to the goal will be an integral part of achieving the global goals. So it's not possible to have strong functioning businesses in a world with increased inequality, poverty, and climate change. So when you then start to really look at, well, it's not just about to supporting, building, working your purpose or your employee engagement or all those amazing benefits of why you should get involved. Like, we really have to, as a collective, really shift the achievement of achieving these goals for our businesses to continue to prosper as well. And so businesses have a responsibility to act. And the closer they are to understanding the role that they can play in this, the better that they can work towards the solutions that are really integral to their business and their operations, and what that they can do to really drive the difference that's unique to them. And I think that it's going to be critical for businesses to support the goals, like I said, but it all can have that massive impact on the company. And young people will be, there are future leaders in our business as well, so it's important that we equip them to some of the roles and the jobs that they're going to be coming into, but also the challenging world that we're going to be facing into, and equip them with the right skills and knowledge and motivation to take action, but also to be able to adapt as we need to these change. I think they say about climate change, we're the first generation to understand the true impact, but we're also the last generation to do anything about it. And that's really the big thing that we it's a big challenge we've got to take on here. And supporting young people is a great way for businesses to be able to connect with the goals, like Dave was saying, in a way that really allows them to be able to take that action. And it's it's one way that businesses can start on their many journeys that they should be taking to help address the goals. It's great for employee engagement, it's great for personal development, it's great for all of those things as well, but it's also fundamentally it will be inherent to their businesses' long-term survival.
Thank you. Just unmuting myself. Thank you very much, Joe and Dave. I think that's really helpful and insightful. I'm just going to now just turn back to our young people, because we've got a question from Farah in the audience, and they're interested in how did you select the relevant sustainable development goals for your project? Did you choose them, or did the school choose them for you? Like, how did you choose the project you're doing, I suppose? And then do you think, or how do you stagger the 17 goals over a student's school lifetime? That's quite an interesting one to think about. So yeah, I'd be interested in your views. Who wants to wave at me and go first? Okay, Arab, you're going to go first. Thank you.
So I think in terms of the UN SDG goals we had to pick out. It was a lot about first ironing out our entire project, trying to figure out what it exactly was that we were trying to address. And once we found that, it was, spending time with our teacher supervisor to identify the ones that would most relate to our project to ensure that we can then commit ourselves to working on the specific points of those SDG goals. And coming from an IBDP school, we've had the UN SDG goals inculcated into our curriculum with a lot of the projects that we've already undertaken, both inside and outside of the classroom. So having that awareness and knowledge about the different SDG goals before it came to, selecting which ones would work for our project, that made a big difference because it was something we've already dealt with and it was something we were familiar with. So then highlighting the ones that our project connected to came quite naturally to us.
Fantastic, thank you. Martina or Nicholas, would you like to share on that one?
Yeah, so we choose our SDGs. The school just gave us the opportunity to apply to global social leaders, and we were the ones that, when we applied to them, we started to choose the SDGs we wanted to work for. And we started to find the SDGs that adapted to our project. And as we saw how we chose different SDGs, we saw that each of the SDGs actually correlate. Like you can see that all of them, you choose one and all of them have an impact. I think for the other one you said is how to stagger the 17 goals over a student's lifetime. I think, as I said before, if you start with one SDG and then you start to see the impact on the others, they all correlate. And also from a very young age, we have been seeing that our school has enacted this SDGs. Like for my generation, I wasn't able to do that, but now other generations from 7th grade, 8th grade are developing communities-based project around this SDGs. And all of the curriculum regarding like humanities, understanding global goals and everything have started since a young age. So through the school lifetime, they start to see different SDGs. And I think at the end, where the project comes in, all of them correlate and have an impact.
Great, thank you. Nicholas, did you want to build on that, or are you happy with that answer?
Yes, I'm just gonna build a little bit on that. I feel like the school has a trajectory towards sustainability, and it's been a few projects that have sort of embraced it in the school and sort of endorsed it in the school, and this has led to younger generations, as Martina said, through our Green Day or school trips, to actually view this in this like sustainability perspective. And I think it's crucial to understand that these projects are built on what's already been done, and it's a slow but like a safe trajectory of what we're doing. And it's key what Martina said, that you build on one SDG and you move on to the next, seeing how it impacts you and the way that you want to approach it as you gain more experience and better networks. So I feel that in terms of like students' lifetime, it doesn't limit itself to school, because what we're trying to do is build and create an impact that lasts more than just during your school time. And it's our goal with Enlighten to continue it even after we've graduated, and to keep providing support to rural communities and to the school in educating younger students.
Fantastic, thank you very much, Nicholas. That was really helpful. I'm now going to ask kind of quite a big question. It's quite an open question, and it's going to go to all of you. But I almost want you to be just thinking about, how do you think companies, businesses, and schools should work together to prepare our young people for an uncertain future? And just, I suppose, building on that, what role do you think the global goals can play in that as a framework? So I'll say that again. It's a very big question, and I'm hoping you guys have got the answer. But how do you think company, businesses, and schools could work together to prepare young people for an uncertain future? Who would like to go first? Brilliant, Nicholas. You're back up again. Over to you.
Yeah, so Enlighten, and I'm pretty sure Araf believes the same, that companies have the responsibility to begin endorsing young student initiatives, such as the ones that we're building. Joe has mentioned previously how important it has been for her and her, as well as her, like in a private, personal view, as well as in a corporate view, understanding how young minds can see these problems in a different way. I think a clear example of that is how we directed ourselves to technology, solar panels, Starlink internet, and like providing a solution for the future on which the young communities can also build on. We believe that that companies and schools can impulse these initiatives by providing funding, networking, and most primarily mentorship, because as I've mentioned previously, for us as young people, it is crucial to receive tips and support throughout this process, and that's the best way in which companies can help these initiatives.
Great, thank you. Funding, mentorship, really help, really good. Arif.
Yeah, I think in line with what Nicholas said, it's important that, you know, as students, I think having this focus and having such platforms, it gives us the opportunity to ideate solutions or, you know, projects that we feel could address some of the societal issues we see around us. But bridging the gap between ideation and execution, I think it's important for corporates or businesses to play a role, like Nicholas said, in terms of either funding or mentorship, because at a young age, we don't have the experience to, you know, truly fulfill our vision, be it in terms of forging the right connections with vendors, with suppliers, finding the right people to lean on during the process, etc. I think it's important to find those people through corporations or other businesses who can, you know, guide us along the process. And then when we do help either by directly funding or providing us with connections through which we could secure funding, because at the end of the day, that would play a large role in helping us, you know, truly execute the vision that we conceptualize.
Fantastic. Martina, did you want to build on that?
Yeah, so adding to what Arif and Nicolas said, I think I couldn't agree more, but I would say also companies have the tool and impact to form us as leaders. So most of like I said, like going through a contract, understanding how to take a debt out of a bank, and like those practical things we don't learn at school. So by companies teaching us through education how to achieve that, how to structure good a budget, how to grow that project, how to reach each company, I think they can also have a lot of power, because they can give us the tools so then we can grow our project. And I think for us and for Enlighten, those was one of the most difficult stages. One of our drawbacks was that we couldn't collaborate with the government. The government wanted us to give us funds, but due to legal and to structural things that we didn't have knowledge of, we were not able to do it. So as companies grow us and like give us the tools and give us their expertise, and just mentor us with their experience to young people, it's a huge step for growing the business.
Thank you. Joe and Dave, what about from your side?
Yeah, I think the young people are given some just amazing examples of where, you know, where businesses can play a role. But, you know, thinking with my corporate hat on, one of the things that you want to make sure with, you know, if there's any businesses on the call today, is around, well, how do you navigate where to provide that focus or where to provide that opportunity? And building on Dave's point before, and I think the more that you can kind of link it to your business purpose or your strategies as your business, the stronger it will embed and land in the business. So I'm kind of giving an example from my time at Sainsbury's. So Sainsbury's brand promise was to help everyone eat better. So how do you ensure everyone has access to healthy, affordable food that's good for the planet? And so when we, the community investment team, we linked our entire community programme around helping everyone eat better, and specifically how Sainsbury's can address food poverty by helping everyone eat better, and had two areas: your access to food and your prevention. So your access to food would be like stuff like surplus donations or through grant programmes to support those organisations who were given that access to food in the community. But the other area we identified was this prevention pillar. So actually, how do you stop someone requiring that emergency food intervention to begin with? And we realized education was a big space that we needed to be exploring within this, which is how do you make sure young people have the skills and knowledge about our food system, where our food comes from, how to make decisions on what they're eating, both from their health, but from a sustainability point of view. So actually what that meant is Sainsbury's had a really clear direction on the types of projects it could do and how it was going to then support people. So then when it came to working with organisations or looking for schools, it was able to then say, this is the role that we specifically can play. And, you know, really looks at, goal 1 around poverty, around the hunger goal, around responsible consumption. So it really used the goals as a driving force for the difference it could mean. And it meant that it was, it can invest its money in a specific way. So it was new where it was clear, and then how it could then engage its 180,000 colleague work staff in terms of how you can get into schools, how you can support food banks, how you can kind of help with that education gap. And these are really important topics that are not just, it's a piece of education that's really needed, but it meant that you had that could, you were able to navigate where you could have your biggest impact as a business. So what it meant is the grant funding, that education, that mentor, and all these great examples that these, Arav, Nicholas and Martina have been suggesting, but it meant that Sainsbury's were able to do it in a way that was really unique to its business, which meant that it had the resource and the funding to be able to do it. And the business case was so intrinsically linked to what it was trying to achieve as a business. It made sense. It was a win-win when it was hitting the triple bottom line for the business. So it was great for business, it was great for the community, and it was great for the difference for the people who were working for us. So that's what I'd really say, when it kind of, how could it be? It's like, how do you, a business need to really identify the specific role it can play so that it can really embed that part as part of its day-to-day in its business.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Joe. That's really, really helpful insights and a good example of just how it can really work in practice with that alignment between a company's sort of passion and what's the need. Dave, final word before we go.
Yeah, I'll keep it brief.
Oh.
I think part of the challenge is there's an upstream issue, which I don't think a lot of businesses don't know how to form a meaningful relationship, dialogue, channel of communication with a school or group of schools. So we've been working with one of our clients on exactly this, helping them develop and launch essentially a partnership program. But the aim of it is for businesses to listen, to hear from young people. What are the issues that they care about most? What are their expectations of brands and businesses, companies? What are they looking for from their future employers? And essentially helping those businesses to think less so from a sort of brand and consumer product perspective, because that can become a bit tainted, but more from a strategy and employee engagement perspective. Think ahead, what's coming down the track? What are the things that are really on the minds of young people like Arav, Nicholas and Martina that we need to already be thinking of and responding to before their next wave of, okay, how are we going to recruit the next generation, or how are we going to reach the next generation with our products and services? And I think that's really important. And I think that's where a lot of businesses come unstuck. There's just an awkwardness. They feel awkward. And then the school is a bit like, unless you're really smart, quite savvy school, you'll feel wary of what's the business's agenda and why they're here. So I think forming those partnerships and maybe having some conduits like you guys and other sort of education companies in this space to help, I think is going to really improve things, because at the moment it's the dialogue and that channel of communication isn't necessarily there to actually just to start to hear what young people are saying, doing, and what the kind of sentiment is, which I think is really important.
Thank you very much, Dave. That was absolutely fantastic. And I think really makes the point around the connection that needs to be made between schools and with companies. And I think the global goals is a great framework, almost aligning that. I would like to now, I'm going to be drawing the panel to a close. I want to say a massive thank you to our Global Goals heroes for supporting GSL and for the work you're doing with businesses. And really special thanks to our young people who have joined very early in the morning, especially to share your projects. And just, it's so inspiring and to hear what you're doing. And to the audience, I'd like to say, if you've been inspired by today, you can be a hero. You can register on the globalsocialleaders.com website to become a Global Goals hero, and you can help in many ways, from providing feedback online by judging, by speaking. And we also partner with organisations, and we've partnered to fund young people to take part in GSL. We've created the opportunity for over 250 heroes to give feedback to young people, which has enabled the young people to do the projects that they're doing. And it's enabled us to integrate GSL into schools and run our courses. You can also share this opportunity with schools that you know and with young people you know. So do visit the Global Social Leaders website and do get in touch with us if you would like to get involved in GSL and partner with us to catalyse change in schools and communities. Thank you to our panel, thank you to our audience, and we hope you have a great, wonderful rest of your day, and do have a look at the wider LearningPlanet Festival. Together we can create a brighter and more sustainable future. We're now going to close the webinar, so you're free to leave. You will get a recording emailed to you, and you can share that then with colleagues and friends who weren't able to join today. But for now, I'm going to wave. I'm going to wave to my panel and let you go and have a wonderful days as well. And especially to our panel who now probably need to get ready and go to school. Have a fantastic day. And thank you so much from me and from all the GSL team for joining us today. And now a wave to our audience and to all of you. Thank you. And I'll invite Steph to close the room.